What's one of Quentin Tarantino's favorite movies? It's the 1994 movie Chungking Express, directed by the great Chinese director Wong Kar Wai. We're going to talk about this movie and why and how you should watch it coming up next. Chungking Express is a really fascinating movie, great to watch. Great to think about. It sort of tickles all aspects of me, head, heart, spirit, and gut. It's a very complicated movie, yet I think it is watchable for even ordinary audiences who aren't interested in a serious challenge by a great but heady cinematic work. And for those of you who are YouTubers, video creators, you really ought to watch this movie to pick up on all the interesting techniques, and in fact, the almost impossible to pull off thing that Wong Kar Wai does in this movie, which is to combine two different storylines and to change completely main characters in the middle of the movie. Chungking Express is basically two stories put together into one. It all centers around a takeout express restaurant in Hong Kong called, of course, the Chungking Express. The first storyline is about a young 20-something police detective. He's going to have a birthday in a few days. He doesn't seem to have friends. He's just broken up with his longtime girlfriend, and he really just wants to be in love with somebody. And he has sort of this fatalistic idea that everything expires, which actually is true. And he's going around to convenience stores buying a can of pineapple that's going to expire on May 1st, which is his birthday. Coincidentally, his ex-girlfriend is named May. And a girl that the restaurant owner at the Chungking Express wants to set him up is named May. Beware the fictional games in this movie like this, there are a lot of them. So he ends up running into a Chinese woman who's wearing a blonde wig and a pair of sunglasses. So culturally, she wants to look half American. The irony is he's a police detective who runs into what turns out to be a smuggler. She's part of a legal smuggling trade and she's a criminal. Does he know this? Will he ever figure this out? The second story is in the middle of the movie when the police detective runs into a woman who started to work at this Chungking Express restaurant. Turns into a different police officer who's also broken up with a longtime girlfriend. He really loved her. She's a flight attendant who flew back and forth between America and Hong Kong. Meanwhile, this female worker at the Chungking Express seems to really like him. And so she gets a hold of his apartment key and ends up going over there regularly in secret to clean and reorganize his apartment. Will he ever figure out what she's doing? Already you should see some parallels given my descriptions of these two storylines. Each storyline has a young police officer whose girlfriend has recently broken up with him, and he's forlorn and wants love. And then there's a female who's doing things on the sly. There's a heavy dose of Americanization here with, on the one hand, the criminal female who is looking like an American woman, a blonde from a, say, Hollywood noir movie, and then the young female worker at the restaurant who loves the song California Dreamin' by the Mamas and Papas. Everybody's obsessed with America in this movie. It's taking place in Hong Kong. It's as if Hong Kong itself, like these individuals, doesn't know who it is, doesn't understand its identity. This is a city at once about commercialism, failed opportunities, lack of families, lack of traditions, and these characters in this movie in both storylines are wandering around as loose individuals who have no home or family or identity. And they're constantly looking for one, and they're trying to find one, I think, in part in some kind of dream of America. They're also trying to find identity in a lover they can't have. And so at once it's a beautiful movie, and yet it's a very haunting movie. I think the cinematography really draws that out. The characters are constantly in tight and cramped spaces. They're being forced into sequences by the filmmaker that are blurred in slow motion where the frames are cut out of them. What are their lives? Sometimes they can't even see them, and you, the viewer, can't even sort of understand what's going on. The viewer at the end of this movie will have to ask themselves, okay, now that we've seen the whole movie, what do you do with these two stories? How do they relate to each other? There's some really interesting intellectual stuff going on in this movie. These two storylines could just be two separate storylines, or they could be mirror opposites. That is, the movie tells one story and it tells them the same story in a different way. Maybe it's like a refracted mirror. You get that moment in the middle of the movie where the two characters from each storyline meet, which kind of looks like a mirror. And there are some really astounding answers. Maybe they're parallel universes. Maybe they're the same story told in two different stylistic ways in two different genres. I mean, the first storyline is sort of a crime noir story. The second is more of a rom-com. I find the second storyline pretty funny, actually. There's a lot of scenes of one of the characters talking to his stuffed animals, for example. So maybe this story is a meta-commentary on itself. Maybe it's this commentary on the nature of storytelling more than a commentary on the characters and their world. There's so much else to say about this fascinating movie. I think it's worth viewing multiple times. You'll see it in multiple different ways. Have you seen this movie? What do you think? Please leave a comment. Please subscribe to this channel. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a great day.